What? You married my brother? You're both traitors. Heck, you're not family to me anymore.
I'm Daniel Cooper, 37, and I'm an accountant. 3 weeks ago, my biggest life achievement was getting through the self-checkout at Target without triggering the unexpected item in bagging area alarm. I make Excel spreadsheets look professional and explain to adults why they can't write off their Netflix as a business expense. My wife Ashley and I had been married 6 years, and around year 3, we both realized we'd made a spectacular mistake, but were too tired to do anything about it. She'd forward me videos of billionaire influencers with captions like, "Why can't you be more like this?" While I thought romance meant remembering to buy the expensive coffee creamer she liked, the one that cost more per ounce than gas. We shared a mortgage, a Netflix password, and absolutely nothing else. That Tuesday morning started like every other soul-crushing day. I woke up to my alarm playing some generic pop song, dragged myself through a lukewarm shower, put on the same gray suit I'd been wearing since 2015. Ashley was already gone to her marketing firm downtown, where everyone had meaningless titles like Senior Brand Experience Coordinator. I ate a protein bar that tasted like compressed disappointment and headed to my car, fully prepared for another day of fiscal responsibility and mild depression. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. Normally I'd ignore it because nobody calls unless they're selling extended warranties, but something made me answer. "Mr. Cooper, this is Gregory Thompson from Thompson & Associates. I'm calling about the estate of Edward Mason." "My Uncle Edward." Not really my uncle, more like my mom's second cousin, but he'd always insisted I call him uncle. He was an eccentric real estate mogul who'd made a fortune buying properties in neighborhoods right before they got trendy, like he had a crystal ball for where artisanal coffee shops would appear next. I hadn't seen him in 3 years, not since that weird Thanksgiving where he brought 2 dates to dinner and spent 2 hours explaining cryptocurrency to my dad. "I'm very sorry to inform you that Mr. Mason passed away last week. However, he left specific instructions regarding you in his will. Could you come to our office this morning? It's rather time-sensitive." Time-sensitive got my accountant brain's attention immediately. I told him I'd be there in an hour, called my boss Jerry to say I had a family emergency, and drove downtown to one of those old buildings with marble floors and elevators that creak like they're judging your life. Thompson's office smelled like mahogany and old money, leather furniture that probably cost more than my car, diplomas from universities I couldn't afford to visit. Thompson himself looked exactly like his voice sounded. Mid-50s, silver hair, wire-rimmed glasses, the kind of guy whose ties were custom-made and shoes polished by someone named Jeeves. He gestured to a chair that was both incredibly expensive and deeply uncomfortable. "Mr. Cooper, I'll get straight to the point," he said, sliding a folder across his desk. "Edward Mason's estate has been settled, and you are named as the sole beneficiary of his liquid assets. The total comes to $329 million. My brain short-circuited. That's not a number real people have. That's lottery winners and tech moguls. I just sat there staring, waiting for him to say, "Just kidding," or for Ashton Kutcher to jump out from behind a bookshelf. "I understand this is overwhelming," Thompson said, which was the understatement of the century. I was having an out-of-body experience, watching myself sit there with my mouth hanging open like a broken mailbox. I somehow managed to sign papers, though my hands shook so badly, I probably signed my name as Daniel Cooper. I walked out buzzing like I'd swallowed a live electrical socket. I had to tell Ashley. Yeah, she'd been distant and obsessed with billionaire TikTok, but this was it. This would fix us. No more money stress, no more arguing about whether we could afford dinner out. This was our golden ticket, our reset button, our chance to actually enjoy life instead of just surviving it. I called her immediately, practically jogging to my car. Straight to voicemail. Typical Ashley. Probably in some meeting about optimizing brand synergy. I left a message that probably sounded insane. "Ash, call me back immediately. Something huge happened. Like, life-changing huge. Our ramen dinners are officially over. Call me." Irene jumped in my Tesla. The base model used one I'd bought 3 years ago that Ashley always complained wasn't as nice as her friend Stephanie's Mercedes, and started driving home. I was picturing her reaction the whole way. Maybe she'd cry happy tears instead of the frustrated tears when I forgot to unload the dishwasher. Maybe she'd actually hug me like she meant it, not like she was hugging a coat rack. Maybe we could finally take that Italy trip she'd been talking about since our honeymoon, the one we never took because we couldn't afford it. I was still lost in these fantasies when I drove through the intersection of 5th and Morrison. Then I saw the truck. Massive 18-wheeler, the kind that makes your car feel like a toy, and it was running the red light. I had maybe half a second to process before it T-boned me right on the driver's side with the force of a meteor strike. The sound was incredible. Metal crunching, glass shattering, airbags exploding in my face like aggressive pillows. My car spun, flipped, turned into what I'd later describe as a metallic burrito, except way less delicious and infinitely more painful. Then everything went dark. Complete silence. Then beeping. Steady, rhythmic beeping that my slowly returning consciousness recognized as the sound that says, "Congratulations, you're alive, but barely." When I finally clawed my way back to consciousness, everything hurt. Not like slept wrong hurt, but like a truck literally used me as a speed bump hurt. Every part of my body was screaming in harmony. My ribs felt like someone had used them as a xylophone. My left leg was throbbing with pain that suggested it contained more metal than bone now, and my head felt like it had been used as a basketball. I tried opening my eyes. When I finally managed it, I saw the sterile white ceiling of a hospital room, complete with that distinctive smell of antiseptic and despair. I was wrapped up like a discount mummy, bandages covering 70% of my body, tubes coming out of places I didn't want to think about, and an impressive collection of machines beeping around me. "Oh good, you're awake," came a warm voice. I turned my head slowly to see an older woman in scrubs, with kind eyes and gray hair pulled back in a practical bun. Her name tag read Carol, and she had that calm, seen-it-all demeanor of someone who'd been doing this job for decades. "Where am I?" I croaked, my voice sounding like I'd been gargling gravel. "St. Mary's Hospital, sweetie," Carol said. "You've been out for 3 days, Mr. Cooper. You were in a serious accident. A truck ran a red light and hit your car. You're lucky to be alive. You've got 4 broken ribs, a shattered left femur with enough titanium in your leg now to set off airport metal detectors for the rest of your life, a severe concussion, and more bruises than I can count. But you're stable, and you're going to be okay." 3 days. I'd been unconscious for 3 entire days. That meant Ashley must have been losing her mind with worry. My poor wife, probably sitting by my bedside, holding my hand, praying for me to wake up. The thought made me feel guilty for all those times I'd thought mean things about her TikTok habits. "My wife," I managed to say. "Ashley? Is she here? Has she been here?" Sluggisher's expression changed in that specific nurse way that immediately made my stomach drop. That look that says, "Oh, honey, you poor naive idiot. You have no idea what's coming." "Well," Carol said carefully, "she hasn't called. Not once since you've been here. We tried reaching her multiple times using the emergency contact information in your phone, which survived the crash better than you did, but she hasn't answered or returned any calls. Not once. Not even a text. I've been lying here with tubes coming out of me like a science experiment, machines keeping me alive, and my wife couldn't be bothered to pick up the phone." "Maybe she doesn't know," I said weakly, even though I didn't believe it. Carol patted my hand gently. "We left 17 voicemails. We also sent text messages, and even tried her email. We got her work number from your phone and called there too. She knows." Unborn, at the ceiling, trying to process this while my brain was foggy from painkillers. 17 voicemails. She'd ignored 17 voicemails about her husband being in critical condition. That wasn't an accident. That was deliberate. That was actually pretty on brand for Ashley, which somehow made it worse. "Can you hand me my phone?" I asked, because apparently I'm a glutton for punishment. Carol hesitated, but eventually handed it to me. It took 3 tries to unlock it because my fingers weren't cooperating, but when I got it open, I saw exactly 0 missed calls from Ashley. 0 texts. 0 anything. What I did have was a notification from my credit card company about unusual activity, which seemed less important than the "my wife doesn't care if I'm dead" situation, so I ignored it. I called her. The phone rang 4 times before she answered. The first thing I heard was loud club music, the kind of bass-heavy music people play when they're trying to forget their problems or celebrate something. "Daniel, can we not do this right now?" Ashley's voice came through, slightly slurred, definitely annoyed. "I'm busy." "I'm in the hospital," I said, my voice cracking. "I was in an accident. I almost died, Ashley, 3 days ago." "Did you get the messages?" Tightened. There was a pause. For a second, I thought maybe she'd gasp, apologize, say she was on her way. "Yeah, well, you always make everything about you, don't you?" she said, and I could practically hear her rolling her eyes. "It's always Daniel this, Daniel that. Daniel's in the hospital. You know what? I'm done. I don't have the time or the money for a loser anymore. Figure it out yourself." Then she hung up. Just like that. End of conversation. End of marriage. End of any illusion that she'd ever actually cared about me. My heart monitor started beeping faster, louder, more insistent. Carol rushed back in, checking my vitals. "You okay, honey? Your heart rate just spiked. What happened?" "Yeah," I said weakly, tears burning behind my eyes. "I'm fine. I just realized I'm married to a Disney villain. Like not even one of the complex ones with a tragic backstory. One of the straight-up evil ones who kicks puppies for fun." Carol squeezed my hand, and I saw anger in her eyes. The kind nurses feel when they see good people getting treated like garbage. "Well, Mr. Cooper, let me tell you something I've learned in 30 years of nursing. Sometimes the worst injuries aren't the ones we can see on an X-ray. And sometimes the trash takes itself out." Clang. The next 2 days were a masterclass in existential dread mixed with premium cable. Carol kept checking on me with regularity that suggested she either genuinely cared or worried I'd try to escape. The food was exactly what you'd expect. Mysterious meat that could have been chicken or turkey or possibly cardboard. Jell-O that wobbled enthusiastically. And coffee that tasted like it was brewed with water from hell. My phone kept buzzing with credit card notifications, but I ignored them. On day 3 of my conscious hospital stay, Carol came in with a look that triggered my fight-or-flight response. She was carrying a tablet. "Mr. Cooper," she said, "I need to tell you something, and you're not going to like it." "Join the club," I muttered. "The list of things Daniel doesn't like is getting pretty long." "Your wife did come by once, right after the accident when you were still in emergency surgery." For a split second, my heart did this stupid, hopeful leap. See, she did care. "She came to pick up your wallet and credit cards," Carol continued. "Said she'd keep them safe for you while you were recovering." Azramia went very quiet. "She what?" "Picked up your wallet and credit cards," Carol repeated. "Told the nurses she was your wife. Showed ID, said she'd keep your valuables safe since you wouldn't be needing them. They gave her everything. Wallet, credit cards, keys, even your watch." Clum's my brain was short-circuiting. "So she came to the hospital where her husband was dying to rob him?" "I wouldn't put it quite that bluntly," Carol said. "But yes. And Mr. Cooper, those credit card notifications? Let's just say your American Express is living its best life right now. Gucci, steakhouse dinners, a resort spa in Scottsdale, premium wine deliveries. She's having the recovery you deserve." I started laughing, not a happy laugh, the kind that makes people worry you've snapped. She stole from a man in a coma. That's actually impressive in its terribleness. Carol handed me the tablet. "I thought you should see this. She's been posting on social media." I took the tablet with shaking hands. It was Ashley's Instagram. There she was, looking radiant in a photo dated 2 days ago, wearing designer everything I couldn't have afforded, holding a cocktail that probably cost more than my daily hospital care, with a caption that read, "New beginnings. Sometimes you have to let go of dead weight to truly soar. Living my best life. Blessed and grateful. New chapter." Dead weight. She'd called me dead weight while I was literally in the hospital with broken bones. The comments were all supportive, too. Her friends posting, "You deserve this, queen," and "So proud of you for prioritizing yourself," and He was holding you back anyway. None of them knowing her husband was 6 floors up in this very hospital, probably paying for her spa day with the credit card she'd stolen. I scrolled through more posts. Designer handbags, expensive dinners, a photo of her getting her nails done with a caption about self-care, another photo at some rooftop bar with people I didn't recognize, her arm around some guy who looked like he'd walked out of a cologne commercial. Square jaw, perfect hair, trust fund smile. "Who's that?" I asked. Carol grimaced. "That's been showing up a lot in her posts. The nurses have been talking. Apparently, she's been pretty open about having moved on. Moved on in less than a week while I was unconscious and possibly dying." My phone buzzed. A text from Ashley. I should have ignored it, but I'm an idiot. "Don't call me again. I've moved on. You should too. P.S. Thanks for the credit cards. Consider it compensation for 6 years of wasted time." I read it 3 times, each time hoping the words would magically rearrange themselves. But no, it stayed the same. 6 years of marriage reduced to a breakup text with a postscript about credit card theft. Carol squeezed my shoulder. "I know this is hard, but I've been doing this job for 30 years, and I can tell you with certainty, you're better off. People who act like this don't suddenly become better humans. She's showing you exactly who she is. Believe her." Rings. I tried calling my sister Emma because I needed to hear a friendly voice. Her husband Mike picked up. "Daniel, buddy, how's it going?" His voice was aggressively cheerful. "I'm in the hospital, Mike. I was in a car accident. I almost died. Is Emma there?" "Oh man, that sucks, dude. She's actually in the middle of her book club thing. You know how she gets. Can she call you back?" "Murky, I'm in the hospital. I think Ashley tried to eliminate me." He laughed. Actually laughed. Classic Ash. She's always been a firecracker. I'm sure you guys will work it out. Marriages take work, you know? Communication and boundaries. Hey, I gotta go. The wine's getting warm. Feel better, buddy. He hung up. Sleep didn't come easy that night, despite enough painkillers to tranquilize a horse. My brain kept replaying everything. That phone call I'd made after leaving Thompson's office, when I'd been so stupidly excited about the inheritance. I'd been practically bouncing, grinning like an idiot. "Ash, you're not going to believe this. Uncle Edward, you remember him? He passed away, which is sad, but he left us everything. $329 million. Can you believe that?" Unborn. There had been a pause. Not a good pause, a calculating pause. I should have heard it then. "Wait," she'd said slowly. "Did you say us? Like us? Like you and me?" "Well, yeah, we're married. What's mine is yours, right? We're rich, Ash. We never have to worry about money again." Another pause. "Cameron, listen to me very carefully. Don't tell anyone about this. Not your sister, not your friends, nobody. Do you understand? This stays between us for now." "Why?" "Just don't, okay? Come straight home. Don't stop anywhere. Don't talk to anyone. We need to discuss this properly." I'd thought she wanted privacy, wanted to celebrate together. Now I realized she'd wanted plausible deniability. She'd wanted me isolated, wanted to make sure I didn't tell anyone who might interfere with whatever plan was forming in her brain. The truck that hit me. I'd thought it was random. But the more I thought about it, things didn't add up. That intersection. I drove through it every single day. I knew the light patterns. I'd never seen anyone run that red light before. The truck had come out of nowhere, perfectly timed to hit me when I'd be most vulnerable. Ashley knew I was coming straight home. Ashley knew my route. I took the same way every day because I'm a creature of habit, and she'd mocked me for it. Ashley had suddenly been very interested in knowing exactly when I'd be home. And then there was her reaction when I ended up in the hospital. No panic, no fear, just cold calculation, and an immediate move to secure the money. She'd shown up to collect my credit cards while I was still in surgery. Someone who knew I might not make it. Someone who was planning for that possibility. Someone who'd maybe helped arrange it. My phone buzzed. "Detective Sarah Bennett with Metro Police. We're investigating your accident and would like to speak with you. The truck driver fled the scene and we have some questions. Please call when you're able." Nash. Truck driver fled. Of course he did. Because if Ashley had tried to have me eliminated, the driver would have been paid to disappear. I saved the detective's number. I'd call tomorrow when my head was clearer. 3 days later, I checked myself out against doctor's orders. The doctors had fitted me with a walking boot and given me a cane that made me look either distinguished or like a retired mob boss. My ribs were still taped up, and I was on enough pain medication to make everything fuzzy. But I could move, because I had somewhere to be. Ashley's mother, Linda, was hosting an engagement dinner for Ashley and Cologne commercial guy at her house in the suburbs, with his family in attendance. The sheer audacity was impressive. The wedding hadn't been legally processed yet. Ashley was still married to me, but Linda had sent out invitations on cream cardstock with elegant script. Robert Mitchell had told me about it during one of his visits to my hospital room. Wait, who's Robert Mitchell? Let me back up, because while I was recovering, my world got even more insane. On day 6 of my hospital stay, Ashley had stormed into my room with Cologne guy in tow. She looked incredible in designer everything, heels that cost more than my hospital stay, makeup flawless. Daniel, she said with fake sweetness, you're looking better. Meet Ryan Collins, my new husband. I choked on my pasta, actually choked, started coughing, which made my ribs scream. Husband? We're not even divorced. That's bigamy. That's illegal. We will be divorced very soon, Ashley said dismissively. Ryan's a corporate attorney, one of the best. He's handling everything. It'll be quick and clean. Ryan stepped forward, pulling out a folder. Mr. Cooper, these are the divorce papers. Very straightforward. We're asking for a 50-50 split of all assets acquired during the marriage. He stopped mid-sentence. His eyes had drifted to the chart at the end of my bed listing my name, age, injuries. The color drained from his face. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. Oh my God, he whispered, hands shaking. You're Daniel Cooper. Daniel Cooper from Cooper Financial Consulting. Daniel Cooper who used to work with Edward Mason? Yeah, I said, confused. Did you not know your new wife's husband's name? Ryan's voice cracked. He turned to Ashley with horror and rage. He's my brother, half-brother. Same father, different mothers. Dad had an affair with Edward Mason's sister 37 years ago. Daniel's mom. We share a father, Robert Mitchell. The Robert Mitchell. Mitchell Industries Robert Mitchell. The room went silent. Wait, I said slowly. Robert Mitchell is my father? The tech mogul whose company I saved from bankruptcy 15 years ago when I was consulting? Righteousness. Ryan nodded weakly. He's been looking for you for years. Mom died and he found out about the affair. He wanted to make amends, include you in the family. But you changed your name after your mom passed and we couldn't track you down. Edward kept your location private, said it was what your mother wanted. And now you're married to the woman I just illegally married. Despite everything, I started laughing. It hurt my ribs, but I couldn't stop. The universe had delivered the most perfect cosmic joke. Ashley was looking between us like we'd both lost our minds. You're lying. This is some trick. Haley, Ryan said, shaking. We need to talk outside. About the fact that you just married the man whose $329 million inheritance I was hired to manage. Do you have any idea what you've done? This is career-ending. I could be disbarred. Security arrived. Then police officers. I told them I'd like to report several crimes. Identity theft, credit card fraud, bigamy, and possibly attempted homicide. Ashley's eyes went wide. Attempted homicide? I didn't. I would never. Mistakenly? That truck came out of nowhere right after you told me to come straight home on a route you knew I took every day. The driver fled the scene. Seems suspicious. One officer stepped forward. Mr. Cooper, can you walk us through what happened? The chaos that followed could have powered a reality TV season. Ashley started screaming at Ryan. Ryan screaming back. You told me he was nobody. You told me this would be easy. Trespass. I told you that when I thought your husband was a broke accountant. You never mentioned Edward Mason. You never mentioned $329 million. Robert Mitchell walked in then. Billionaire tech mogul, silver hair, expensive suit, the kind of presence that makes everyone straighten up. He took one look at the scene and his expression went from confusion to understanding to fury in 3 seconds. Ryan, what have you done? Ryan spilled everything. Meeting Ashley at a charity gala 3 months ago, her sob story about being trapped in a loveless marriage, the fake Vegas wedding, the documents designed to strip me of half my inheritance. Robert turned to his wife, Victoria. Call Martin. Drop Ryan from the firm, effective immediately. The doorbell rang. Detective Bennett with 2 officers. The truck driver had talked. Apparently $40,000 was enough to run a red light and commit vehicular attack, but not enough to keep quiet when facing 20 years for attempted homicide. Ashley was escorted out in handcuffs, still protesting. Ryan went voluntarily, looking destroyed. A week later, I was standing in Linda's driveway with my cane. I didn't knock, just walked in. The conversation died when everyone saw me. Ashley went pale. Daniel? What are you doing here? Robert stood up. Everyone, I'd like you to meet Daniel Cooper, my son, my eldest son. Marma gasps were audible. Linda's wine glass slipped and shattered. Your son? But that would mean that Ashley married 2 brothers, I said cheerfully. Well, tried to marry. The second one isn't legal since she's still married to me. I pulled out my phone. According to my lawyer, still very much married. No divorce papers filed. Although you did try to get Ryan to draft fraudulent papers for half an inheritance you knew nothing about when we got married. Ryan made a sound like a dying seal. $329 million, Linda whispered. She didn't tell you? I'm shocked. You'd think my husband inherited $329 million and then almost died in a suspicious truck accident, and then I stole his credit cards and married his half-brother, would be important family information. Half the guests stood up and practically ran for the door. The police are investigating, I said. The truck driver's been located. Very cooperative about who hired him and how much they paid. Ashley stood up so fast her chair fell backward. You're all liars. This is a setup. Victoria held up her phone. Actually, dear, I've been live streaming this entire dinner to our lawyers. Hello, Martin. The look on Ashley's face was priceless. I have a statement, I said. For everyone here, for the lawyers watching, for posterity. I want to thank my ex-wife for teaching me 3 valuable lessons. Never share your passwords. Always read the fine print. And never marry someone who orders lobster on your birthday, then complains you can't afford better restaurants. Someone laughed. Even Robert cracked a smile. Enjoy the legal consequences, I said, ready to leave. I hear orange isn't anyone's color. 6 months later, I walked into court with my cane. The trial had been everything I'd hoped for. The prosecutor had treated it like her personal mission. The truck driver testified about the $40,000 payment. Hospital records showed Ashley collecting my belongings during surgery. Credit card statements proved theft. The fake marriage license proved bigamy. The judge read the verdict. Guilty on all counts. Ashley got 15 years for solicitation of attempted homicide, fraud, identity theft, conspiracy. Ryan lost his law license and got 5 years for fraud and ethics violations. Mr. Cooper, would you like to make a statement? I stood carefully. Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to thank my ex-wife for teaching me 3 things. Never share your passwords. Always read the fine print. And never marry someone who orders lobster on your birthday, then complains you can't afford better restaurants. The courtroom laughed. Even the judge grinned. Now I live on coastal property with a golden retriever named Murphy and a security system that could protect Fort Knox. People ask if I'll remarry. Maybe, I say. But next time, she's signing a prenup before dessert. Robert and I have built a relationship. Turns out, having a billionaire father isn't bad when you're already independently wealthy. I met my other half-siblings at Thanksgiving. Awkward at first, but they're good people. Ryan writes me letters from prison. Apologies, mostly. I don't respond. Some bridges are better burned. Linda calls occasionally. She had no idea what her daughter had done, felt terrible. I told her it wasn't her fault. The inheritance is safely invested. I quit my job the day I left the hospital. Sent Jerry an email that just said, I quit. You made me work late every Thursday for no reason. Crimson $1 million to St. Mary's. Specifically to Carol's ICU. She tried to refuse. I told her she'd earned it. She cried. I bought her a car anyway. Life's weird. 3 weeks ago, I was eating protein bars in a loveless marriage, thinking this was as good as it gets. Now I'm a multimillionaire with a half-brother in prison and a father I never knew existed. The truck that was supposed to eliminate me ended up saving my life by exposing everyone who wanted to destroy it. Sometimes the universe has a twisted sense of humor. I survived. They didn't. And that's the best revenge there is.